So hello, welcome to today's digital lunch and learn called M-Hill Restoration with alumni Dr. Scott Kenner. He's a CE 77. My name is Sarah Von Eye, and I'm the interim alumni director. Just some housekeeping things before we get started. This event will be recorded and we'll upload it to our YouTube channel. Just so if everyone would like to see it again, we'll have it up there. If you can, in the chat function, put your class and major so we know that we're here. Make sure you change it to say to all panelists and attendees, just so everyone can see who's on the call today. Without further ado, please welcome Dr. Scott Kenner. So I'll give it over to him.
Hello. Hello. I'm amazingly excited. We have 89, over 90 participants, and the excitement in this project is really fantastic. And I'll just get right to it. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, I hope everybody can see my presentation. I want to start by thanking a couple of senior design students and EPICS, which was kind of a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior type projects, community projects, and two from that, those classes were involved. And this started when Dr. Rankin and I talked, and there's always been a little bit of discussion about M-Hill and the shape of the M, and plaques and condition of plaques and finding names. So know that this is great to hear from all of you today. And that's our goal, is to hear and get feedback and move this forward in the best way to honor our legacy of M-Hill, which, I have 10 family members up there. So this is very important to me. So next is, I've grouped this into the SMD monogram, plaques on the monogram, the 5-year reunion plaques, and M-Hill student activity and direct access trail. In between each of these points, we'll stop and try to address some questions. It's likely we won't be able to address all questions today, but we're recording them, we're saving the chat box. We will be addressing all these and interacting through the alumni, through Kara, and moving this in the direction that is positive. So, great picture, isn't it? Does it bring back memories? I don't know about all of you, but I actually went down the mudslide, down the side of the hill into the creek, and we thought that might last. And now they're sliding down on Frisbees for a little while, and then it's on nothing after a while. And some amazing memories for our seniors and freshmen. And we want to maintain that. Now take this aerial perspective. I'm showing my arrow. There's a person standing there. So we're standing back quite a ways. Keep this perspective in mind as we zoom in. Look at the S and the D. Wow, they're just nice, bright white. There's a little bit of green in the D here, but look at the M. Look at all of the different green lines and stuff. It's a little rough. So we're going to zoom in and look at each of these letters and take a perspective on them. So we're going to start with the S. I'm in the picture. My sweetheart, who's on the hill, is taking a picture looking down the S. it's not perfectly level, but the plaques are really evenly spaced, 17 of them, from 1959 to 1975. The concrete is in really good condition. On the lower part of the S, we'll see that a couple of the plaques are rusting a little bit. It's generated a thought in my mind that, boy, could we come up with a clear coating to reseal the surface of these metal plaques that the whitewash could easily be cleaned off, but it protects them against corrosion and rusting. And then maintenance on the joints. Just clean out the joints, seal them up a little bit. This piece of the monogram could require limited work. And so I'm going to zoom in on a couple of shots. Here we're looking across the middle of the S. You can see on this plaque closest to the bottom, you can see the red tint in it. So you can see there's a little bit of rusting and corrosion of the metal. Here's one of the cracks. That's really clean, isn't it? And there's another one of the plaques, very good condition. So could we reseal these a little bit to give them longer life with a clear type of coating? I'm sure our metallurgists could come up with that. So now we're moving on to the M. On the M, we have 44 plaques. The D, sorry. We're moving on to the D. 44 plaques, 1976 to 2020, and they roll all the way around. This picture is the upper left corner of the D. This is the only bad piece of concrete in the D. And we could just rework this square and make it more solid. So it's separated and cracked at the corner, or we just seal it. But that's really the only major repair that might be done on the D. Notice again for the 1976 plaque, you can see some of the red in the corrosion of the metal surface that we could maybe look at. Here's the bottom of the D. You can see the names, highly legible. They've got a little bit of whitewash on them, but with some coating or cleaning and recoating, we could maybe give some longevity to our plaques. Again, uniformly spaced, concrete, good condition, minor cracking upper left corner. There's really on the right stem or vertical of the D, there's a little bit of grass and sealing that might be helpful. But again, the D is in pretty good condition. And the thought is to remove grass, fill with appropriate sealant, and possibly replace this piece of the D in the upper left corner. Here's some more shots of the D going across, 77, 76, my plaque, and then down around the corner over here's several, and then my son, my niece, and all the way around to the bottom of the D, where you see this is the stem, the third picture, where you can see the separation in the individually poured. That could easily be cleaned and sealed without too much trouble. And then we see the south or stem of the D, where, wow, it's in really good shape for mounting the future plaques. And my estimation is there's about 15 years of placement up that stem for future plaques. And you can see where I'm standing is the uh, 19 to 2000. Yeah, 2019 to 2020. Yes, I got stuck on that 19, didn't I? Okay, so that's the D. And now we're going to go to the M. Okay, Larry provided this little etching and drawing that the Bierenkotts put together, which was really helpful. Mary and I went up on the hill and literally walked and took notes to try to coordinate. This isn't actually to scale at all because the plaques are pretty small on the current M. And we tried to verify what was there, what isn't there. Still, we have a couple little questions remaining, and to figure out, it appears that a plaque might have went missing and a new plaque got placed, like 33. We saw one in 2 locations up there. So anyway, 37 plaques. The first indication is 1922 to 1958. Uniformly spaced? No, they're not uniformly spaced. They're kind of different places and small and larger. Some of the plaques in the early 20s and stuff just have a graduation year without names. And we'll show a slide of what Larry's been working on regarding those names. Some are not legible due to whitewash. I know in 51, I go up every year and take a little brush and clean off my dad's name. He's a threshold in our family, and it's why his 4 sons went to that school. This great school. Concrete has severe deterioration in places, significant cracking, sliding. To think that we could continue to just maintain this is really putting a Band-Aid on a deep incision. It would have to be done. It's not going to make it look good, and it's going to continue to deteriorate. And so this is my feeling. Maintenance is not really feasible because it's not going to do much. And now I've got some pictures as to why I feel that way. Well, first of all, Larry, want to say just a few words about this plaque?
Okay, what happened about a year ago or so is I was contacted by one of our 82 graduates. His name is Bill McMillan, and his wife is Diana. And Diana has 2 relatives that graduated, I guess, in 05 and 21. And Bill and Diana came up with an idea that they would like to have a plaque made of the early graduates. So I worked with them and came up with this plaque that is shown on the screen here. It shows all of the graduates from 1888. Some of us weren't even born at that time. And it goes through the class of 1927. Why the class of 1927? Because that's what fit on this plaque in this way. This is a plaque that is the same size that is being placed for each of the individual classes right now. It's 3 feet high by 4 feet wide, and it's kind of a standard. So anyhow, we've gone through and we took a look at every one of those names from those first years, and I believe there are 274 names on this plaque, and that is going to be placed, or it's going to be prepared for this July reunion. And I don't know if it'll be placed then, because it depends on what happens with the M, but it's going to be there and it'll be kind of officially dedicated at that time. Anyhow, that's basically how that came about. And I think it's really a neat way to honor the people that graduated so long ago. They never did have their name on the plaque. Was there a 1927 plaque? There might've been a 27 plaque, I don't know, but it's probably not very legible. I think so.
22 was the first plaque up there, but
Yeah.
I don't believe names were on even,
No, I don't believe 22 had a plaque. It just had the words 1922.
yes.
And then there's
Etched into the
1923.
concrete.
Etched into the concrete. No
Right.
names, just the years.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think that goes up through about 1928 or 29 or 30. I can't remember.
If we back up, so I've got 22 to 58 on the M.
Can you point to these triangles in the middle?
Yeah.
You see that little thing in the middle right above 22? That says 1921, 1922, 1923. If you read across there, I think that's what it says.
There's 1923. And then see, there's 225s, 224s, 226s.
Okay.
And so they're symbols of the graduating year. So this is where
No names.
no names.
Okay,
This is
okay.
where we could think a little bit about where do we put this plaque? If we redo the M, do we center that in the M and then keep those old plaques, clean them up, and then place them around it? So there's the history as well as the names. Just some thinking that could come out of this.
Sure.
In how do we connect names with historic plaques?
One other possibility would put this plaque up where the 5-year reunion plaques are, kind of up on the top away from the M.
Yeah, that's a possibility.
So, I'm not going to try to dictate what we do there, but there's a lot of possibilities.
Yes.
And another possibility looking forward, we could make plaques like this for class of 28, 29, 30, and so on, that would clearly show their names. And their original plaque, you can't read them, but they'd still be there for nostalgic purposes. So I think I sent Scott.
And that could be determined if we move forward with the M, we would be cleaning up all the plaques and we would be able to tell which ones do we enhance and what that finalization would be, And of course, as some of you have sent in, we're going to log and missing names and stuff, right? And try to address those. That's part of this meeting, is to gather that information.
Yeah. The way the plaques used to be done is they had to determine who was going to be graduating a year ahead of time. So if the people, for example, are graduating in 1989, in May of 89, you had to determine their names in May of 88 so they could be ready for the M Hill activities on October or September of that year. And I've looked at these plaques, and I do know that there's one name on the plaque, on one of the plaques. I don't remember which one it is, but I know that for a fact there's one name on there who has 0 credit hours ever taken at the school mines successfully. The reason that happened is because he transferred in, was considered a senior, therefore he got his name on the list. In the fall, he was enrolled in some classes. His name was on the plaque. He dropped out, never completed a single hour. That's very much of a frustration. He would not be on a name. His name would not be on a plaque if it was ever redone. Okay. Anyhow.
So thank you, Larry.
Too much background.
Well, this is really cool to honor the full history of graduates. So, Steve, just give me a minute or two and we're going to go to questions. So next, I want to show you some of the aspects of the M. So if you look at the left-hand column, this is the point of the center of the M. This concrete is completely deteriorating, cracking up, and doesn't have a lot of life left. It's actually been recovered once before. Here is a shot of some cracks and vegetation coming up, a close-up and a crack going right through this old plaque, and you can see that it's not very distinguishable. If you get up really close, you can see on the right-hand column, this is the lower end of the right stem of the M, separated 10 10 to 12 inches and separated off from the stem of the M. Next, here's the left stem. This concrete is almost gone. It's just breaking out and crumbling out. You can see the separation of the different blocks. Here's some significant crumbling. And you can just see the offsets all across the bottom of this M. I'm standing at my father's plaque right there. Let's keep going. This is at that right end. The grass and the soil and this lower right is, you have to actually pull away the sediment to get to this year. I think it's the 1955 plaque. That's essentially covered and you can't see it. And so it's under soil. Here is the 1936 plaque where the M in that original one used to be, and now this might have been a replacement at some time. And it does have names, but it's cracking right up through that area and separated. Here's another location of a plaque and cracking that is occurring and the separation between the blocks and a little graffiti that someone decided to put on. Here's another plaque, a different one where cracking, you can see how broken up this long piece is. Let's see, I'm gonna go to, I'm just gonna, if you have some interest, the students put out a couple of surveys and on what should be done. 227 responses, nothing. The monogram should be patched. The monogram should be replaced. The monogram should be replaced, had a majority, 51.5%, but I don't know if the condition of the M was conveyed fully. And they presented doing the S, the M, and the D versus let's just do the M. My heartfelt recommendation is let's do the M. The S and the D can really be maintained, cleaned up, and the M is in just a poor situation. So, monogram recommendations. Remove and replace the M. Clean, repair, reset plaques in organized fashion, make room for future plaques. Initially keeping the M stem clear for student activity. One thing we're not going to do with this project is say what the students' M-Hill activity is going to be in the future. As far as we know, they'll do the whitewash sliding, but we could organize it so one stem is completely clean of plaques. Initially, thinking that in the future, they probably won't continue this based on safety or something, or maybe they will. Perform maintenance on the S and the D, clean and seal cracks, clean plaques in place. Organize plaques to optimize future plaque space so we can add maybe 20, 40 years of plaque placement on the M in the future, and consider this plaque coating protection of existing plaques. We could consider repair concrete in place, clean and repair and replace selected plaques, but it's really a Band-Aid. You've seen through pictures what that would be. I think that would take more effort and more time than just removing it, setting up, pouring that M, and re-putting things back in place. And we'd need to be doing this again within a few years. The third is do nothing. So Now let's have some time to address comments.
Tell them they can put it.
Questions, put in the chat box is probably the best. So do you have access to the chat box?
Mhm.
Okay.
Steve Jorgensen.
Yeah, or maybe let him talk. I'm okay with
I'll
that.
pull him in. Give him a second.
Okay, I'm unmuted. My
Okay.
wife, Susie
You
Jorgensen,
might want
is
to
president
let
of
him know he's in.
NCSEA.
I don't have my,
Your screen sharing.
should I stop sharing?
Yeah.
Okay,
And Steve should be in.
okay.
Okay,
Lots
so
of chats.
am I here?
Okay, lots of chats, everybody. That's
My wife-
awesome.
My wife, Susie, was a president at NCSEA. So
So,
I'm a PG and a PE and a CPG and a certified
Yeah.
wetland
Just tell
scientist.
him he's free to talk.
It's,
Steve, if you could send a chat, we'd address it, but what will it cost to replace all the letters? Currently, we have an
Nothing.
estimate of 125,000, which I'll show later.
how about you contact the Colorado School of Mines to
Oh, we
find out
can
what they
hear
do with
Steve.
their M
Oh, I
and
can't
how they
hear.
have illuminated their M.
My speaker is,
Gets axed out, it's muted at the bottom.
Here, turn yours off for a second.
okay.
You might get feedback.
Lucas, can you try?
He's muted.
I'm muted.
Oh, Nicholas, ding to everyone. Not you. Can you hear me? I'm Steve Jorgensen. I'm a PGPE geological engineer, 77. My wife was 76 CE. Right before she passed away, she was a president of NCSEA, which means she worked her way. She was a fellow of ASCE and fellow of SEI. She and I have talked about so many different types of engineering projects. Concrete is going to break. Concrete breaks down, and you design concrete to break and how to keep it from breaking. But all of these plaques on M Hill need to be replaced. My plaque is, I believe, on 77, and I believe hers is on 76. So how do we get maybe couples married at School of Mines who live their lives together? Susie and I were only married for 45 years before she passed away. Is there some way we could do that? And there was another comment about, how about masters? And how about PhDs? How do we do that? How do we honor these folks? It's an incredible accomplishment to get to that level of education. Susie and I fell in love way early, and we didn't make it past. How do we honor these people who have advanced degrees? How about people who have, what's his name? Went through the chemistry department, has got his BS and his master's and a PhD, and then became the department head of the chemistry department. I don't remember his name, but he was in Alpha Chi Sigma. How do we honor people like that? I will shut up.
Should be in.
Steve, this is Scott. It's good to hear you. And I remember Susie well from our years together here at the School of Mines. These are certainly honorable considerations. We are going to focus on the senior plaques at this time, but those are certainly things to consider in line with the 5-year reunion thoughts. Someone has a question about how big is the M in square feet. In the senior design project, we have the square footage on the M. The students went up and measured everything. We actually had a local engineering firm donate a very detailed survey, which was completed at the end of last month. We have that to really get the details of the M. But I don't have that right off the top of my head. What are some other?
I think it's 92 feet.
92 square feet?
No, 92 feet from top to bottom,
Oh, okay.
I think.
They want to know if there's a plan for fundraising to restore old plaques.
Great question. Is there a fundraising idea to restore old plaques? We've had some discussions about fundraising for this project and coming up with ways to donate to different parts of it. So as we do that, we really want to get a good grasp of here's what we're going to do, and so that we can provide that. Does $125,000 include replacing the plaques, cleaning and restoring them, and possibly a few that need completely redone? We have put a little hedge in that for those plaques, but we don't know the full extent of that until we try to clean the plaques. There's a comment on the new wall above the M. That's kind of where we're proposing a little rock garden and organizing the 5-year reunion plaques, special honoree plaques. That is a good area for those. Someone showed an idea of concrete benches and putting the plaques in the benches, but with the number of the plaques, that'd be a lot of bench space. But we're thinking of a nice little area where there are some benches, a little walk-through area to look at the different reunions and special honoree plaques for that, and actually a little more seating area for our older alum that get to the top of the hill.
I'm wondering what MD is.
Okay, currently our plan or thought in the progression of this is after M Day in September of this year, we would, if we initiate a full restoration of the M, we would go up, remove the plaques, remove the old concrete, and bring the plaques to campus. We've had some initial contact with all the different student groups and get them involved with the cleaning of the plaques. I'll show you a slide that looks at what the students did. They actually did some tests on cleaning a couple plaques. And then be fully prepared in the spring to go up in the spring and re-pour the M and replace the plaques in time for next year's M Day festivities, which would not put us in a rush, give us time. On our team right now, we have Steve Burgess, who's with Kurtz Construction, Bob Quinn, who owned and ran Quinn Construction. He's been working with concrete people and stuff. If we can get up the hill, there's no problem there. We've been with the city. We don't need a building permit because it's flat on the ground. They said you don't need one. Wow, that's a big plus. We don't even need one for the wall in the rock garden because it's not higher than 4 feet. So there's a lot of positive things that are moving us forward this way. And through this, we're really gonna have a clear understanding of the condition of all the plaques, where we're missing things, and we'll reformulate that and say, okay, here's where we need replacements and not replacements, and refine that. So since it's a lot of volunteer work, it's not a rush, but a steady, well planned out progress over the next year and a half. Oh, we have the new M, that's not the new M, and the new M is not on the hill, and it won't be on the hill. The proposed replacement is exactly the dimensions that exist on the hill. That's exactly where it's at, and I'm not gonna say too much more about that. Okay, other questions we should address before I move on? Should I move on? Yeah, I'm gonna move on, everyone. Again, we're recording all the comments. Okay, yeah, I think I got all that. Here was, they tried a couple of different methods. They took 2 plaques off, 1986 class plaque is shown here. You can see the whitewash on it. They worked with mineral spirits and they did a power washer. And the power washer did the best of the 3 or 4 things they tried. And they tried to be not too erosive on the metal. And so the recommendation from the students was power wash them, but you need to have that energy. And so the plaques they took off came up really easy. And so we think we can remove the plaques, bring them to campus, power wash them, clean them up, and even consider that coating that would protect them. Steve Burgess took a look at the 2 plaques. We also have a 1946 or 40s plaque in the department, and he looked at their thickness, and we wouldn't need to go through the plaque to remount it. We can attach through epoxy on the back and reconnect those to the concrete that's poured. So remounting these shouldn't be a major issue, and that was what Steve looked into for us. So that's a little bit of background. Maybe if you're on a certain year or connected with someone, you could connect with the students who's cleaning your plaque, and we could get that out there. Okay, I'm gonna go to here. So here's a circle that kind of highlights where the reunion plaques are. They're not really organized in their placement. There's a little bit of rock wall along here. Doesn't provide a lot of space, but we're thinking of, taking this whole area, creating a rock garden, and having the plaques so you have a place to sit with a beautiful view, a little opportunity to walk through the reunion and other honorary plaques as have come up that might be placed in the future, which would possibly take this kind of perspective and have a nice view. And that's what we recommend. The alternatives do nothing. And so if you have some thoughts about that, we could take those comments briefly about this part of the project. Any comments specifically on the reunion plaque rock garden layout?
We have to stop sharing.
Yes.
No. He should be. He's good.
So, address. Okay. There are some thoughts about putting plaques into benches, but depending on the size of the plaques, there's going to be a lot of space as we think of this in the future. And that'd be a lot of bench space. I think if we create this rock garden idea, we're looking at a little bit of elevation of these plaques, not to be negative, but somewhat like a cemetery setting where they're elevated and set up above ground, nice rocks, even maybe some wildflowers through there where we can view these. I don't know that we could create that much bench space to put a lot of plaques, but it's certainly a consideration. We have quite a bit of space on the ground through that rectangular area and walking space to place quite a few 5-year plaques. So those are my responses to some of the thoughts we have. Okay, so what we might do is take these chats, come up with a couple of the thought alternatives, and we'll redo a survey, just like we did previously. And all of you, including other alumni, will get an opportunity for this survey within the next couple of weeks. And we'll see where people's ideas are, and we'll go with the majority and as we select these alternatives. But I think there's a pretty positive feeling about a rock garden type of setting with benches. It's just maybe how do we place those future reunion plaques in the bench or something like that. And we'll bring those together in a survey of the alumni. So with our time, I'm gonna proceed forward with the next major component of the project. And that's the trail. I have a couple of shots of the trail. Here you can kind of see that the old trail is on the left and the new trail is starting. So it's widening, it's very steep. It is erosive when it rains. The majority of this trail, like 90%, is on public land, the city park land for M Hill. It's not on the school's property. The students worked very closely with the city and the bike groups and the people who manage the trail system up there in the Lean Park system. And it was a really positive relationship. They did talk about, and I know I can't remember exact places where these kind of trails have been stair-stepped, very possibly. But in the survey and talking with alumni at Thursday's meetings, there was absolutely no support for a stair-step trail. And it didn't have a lot of support from bike groups because you're not going to bike down a step trail. So that was sort of nixed, but it was considered. And so here's some other conditions of the trail and the widening and the roughness of it. There is some risk there, and it gets wet. This third kind of vertical shot over is kind of almost abandoned, but it's very steep, very erosive. This trail that I'm standing on actually works to the right. It's less slope. They both come together immediately off the road. So we really want to control this better, make it more safe, and maybe increase the opportunities. So some of the thoughts that the students had were these. Not do anything and just have people walk all the way up around the road and really have some people in place to say, no, you can't come up the side of the hill. That might be pretty hard for freshmen to follow those directions. Sorry, freshmen. Seniors, maybe you haven't learned to follow directions either. I don't know. Mary and I walked up this path just the other day when we went. But they got the measurements of going around the road, and then this path already exists. The total distance of staying on the main track and then coming across, 564 feet. Just from the road to here is 564 feet at a 0.4% slope. It's a pretty easy walk across the top. The road route up to this point is 946 feet at a slope of 21%. It's a pretty good slope. The current path is 457 feet at 33% slope. That's a pretty good slope. I stopped, I don't know, 5 times. And then they worked with a design manual on trails and with the biking community, and 20% to 25% was a range of slopes that bike trails can work on. And what they looked at is the zigzag or switchback alternatives. And this is what this might look like if we had a 25% slope or a 20% slope. So with support of the biking community and the parks in partnering with this might not be a bad alternative for a more direct route, but it'd still be some kind of switchbacks on this trail that the biking community could also use. This could really be a phased part. This would require approval of the city and working with the bike community and maybe some rehab on the trail. But let's see, here was the alumni survey results. Do nothing, 41%. The thing about doing nothing brings up the environmental aspect of civil and environmental engineering. I've been highly involved with stormwater management, stormwater quality. I don't know how many of you know the quality of the fishery that's in Rapid Creek, but one of its biggest impacts is sediment. And it comes from these type of things. Construction, paths like this. So doing nothing is not a sustainable thought for the future, especially when it's on public property. Cover the shortcut and promote the gravel path, 21%. 37% placed a switchback over the shortcut. So it tended to be positive, but nothing, we have to decide if we can do nothing. And maybe the city would come back someday and say, you can't do that anymore. So that's kind of where we're at. Any thoughts that you have on that. And I'll stop sharing.
If they have a comment or attachment, what would they like to, can they submit it to you?
Yes, my email is scott.kenner@sdsmt.edu. You can find me on the Mines website through civil engineering. I'm an emeritus faculty there. I think you could send to Sarah also, and we would get it. Yes. So that was a consideration of the project, and if we do something, it'd be nice to work it into this and any fundraising, but there was real positive interest by the biking community. Okay.
We can talk about the giving page is live.
Okay. I'm just gonna finish one more brief slide. I really appreciate everybody's interest. This is so great. Lighting update to LED. Dave Habit, 1974 graduate, has worked on this throughout many of the years with West River Electric and his Brink Construction, and he has lined up the support for replacing to upgraded LED, and has the contributions for that all lined up, and we'll be moving forward with that as we bring the future components of this together. I talked with him just yesterday about this, and that's all being donated. So that's where that stands right now. And he's pretty passionate about this part of the project and keeping it well lit. We have an estimated project cost and a goal raising target of $125,000. That incorporates some student plaque cleaning, where volunteer working with Bob Quinn and Steve. We're gonna look at getting some of the work up there donated and have some student groups helping with removing plaques. A big part of the cost will be materials and that type of work. And with this, our donation site for this project is live. And maybe, Lucas, you want to just say a couple words about that? Or
there I am. Hi, everybody. My name is Lucas Lund. I'm the annual giving director at CARA and involved with kind of planning the fundraising for this restoration project. We just shared a link to our giving page in the chat, and we'll also share it, distribute it through email and social media a bit later, but you'll get the first opportunity to kind of check out that page. It provides kind of a description and overview of this project and kind of the main components. Our target goal of $125,000 is listed on that site. And I think it's fair to say the top priority we have right now is definitely restoring the M by spring of 2022. So that's kind of considered our phase one of this project. And again, just to be clear, this is a restoration, not a complete replacement. We are preserving the classic style of the original monogram as it has always existed. It's just time to provide a much needed upgrade to that. So we look forward to kind of sharing with you some other opportunities to engage with us, to raise the funds for this restoration. So stay tuned for those announcements. But if you are ready to support the general fund for this project, as I said, that site is now live. So thank you.
Let me see, what do I got? Oh, I threw in this slide. I think everybody might be interested. This is the actual property that belongs to Kara, right? So you can see we have a lot of the western edge, but below the M, that trail is really on city park system property, if that was a question. So with that, I am just so grateful for all of you connecting in, hearing this. We're going to compile all the chat information, put together some key surveys on particular questions that might exist. With that, I'm shared what I know today.
Do you want to mute yourself?
I can.
So thank you, Scott. I appreciate it. Again, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please email Scott or the Alumni Association email, and I will get them to Scott. So we'll collect those, and then just please watch your emails. We'll send out a survey in the next couple weeks here for feedback. And then as always, it's been recorded, so we'll drop it up or upload it to our YouTube channel here in the next couple days. So please watch for that. Your feedback is always appreciated. So I dropped a hyperlink in the chat, so please watch for that. And then if for those of you who have not registered, Reunion 2021 is quickly or fastly approaching. You'll be here shortly. It's $10 a person. That does include the banquet. So please join, and I'll drop the link in that also in the chat so you can see the full schedule. Events have or will be added probably as we get going. There is some more events that will be added. It's constantly changing, which is good. So again, any questions, let us know. We appreciate your time today. And thank you, Scott. Thank you again.